personally, I'm a big Crawford fan, so I'm going to lean his way. My only concern is just the size. Like, it didn't look like Terrence's power transferred in the last fight, so
with
now it's coming up some more. You know what I mean?
I think it's Crawford's last fight, so I'm happy he's going to cash out, and I'm rooting for him. But I would like to see him stay at 54 and fight Virgil Ortiz.
I'd like to see that too,
Yeah.
but the big money is Canelo.
I know.
And why not do it? I mean, what a ballsy move.
Joe Rogan and his crew have openly doled out to Bud Crawford, as he is known as the best hitter of the division in the build-up to the upcoming super middleweight showdown. Joe Rogan's predictions a stronger hint than usual, because it is by one of the most listened to combat sports circles that creates an interesting slant, looking towards what should have been a major draw.
I just think Crawford is, it's weird to say against Canelo, but I think he's the better boxer, and I think he's the guy who can make the better in-fight adjustments if Canelo doesn't kill him.
Even when Joe Rogan is taking sides with Bud, many are aware and vigilant enough to see Canelo's power. Like Regis Prograis had dismantled the factor he thought was the most dangerous against Terence Crawford, as he was about to fight Canelo Alvarez. He added that although Crawford had shown promise in his last fight against Israel Madrimov, the leap in power and physique between Madrimov and Canelo was mammoth. Prograis thinks that Canelo will add a degree of pounding power and ring confidence that few fighters in history could carry.
Jamel was undisputed at 154, and Canelo hit him, and Jamel was like, hell no, Jamel took a knee. You know, so it's a big difference. And Crawford had that one fight at 154, and he didn't, Madrimov would touch him up a little bit. And this is nowhere close to Madrimov. You talk about Canelo. Now, if it was just another bigger guy, I would go with Crawford. But you talk about this might be, people might kill me for it, but well, not really, but this might be the best Mexican fighter ever. One of them, at least, right? You talk about Canelo and Crawford going up against him.
He advised Crawford to forewarn Crawford that he cannot treat this fight as he did in his earlier bouts, since the Mexican champion is highly punishing in his mistakes. One thing that Prograis emphasized was that Canelo is a boxer who has the reputation of being the best Mexican boxer of his generation, and therefore makes this task even more difficult.
So the only thing they have, but I would say the only thing he has going for him is he's a skillful fighter, and Canelo is older. But so is Crawford, too. I think Crawford is 37, 38, something like that. Canelo's 36. So they both are older right now. But, man, I don't personally see it. Now, a lot of people see that Crawford can beat Canelo. It's just like that punch resistance is something else. They make weight classes for a reason. If he could beat him, man, I think he on the Mount Rushmore of fighters if Crawford can pull this off. But I don't see it.
Joe Rogan considered how significant Terence Crawford is, ready to jump, having gone out of the welterweight and junior middleweight division, and now going to fight Canelo in the super middleweight division. He indicated the extent to which that physical leap can matter, but he also lauded Crawford as having a special skill set. Rogan challenged him to marvelous Marvin Hagler and said that he was the best switch hitter since the great middleweight champion.
Big jump to go from 54, which was a step up from 47. Right,
now
so it
he's
goes to
going
54, and now
68.
he's going to 68. That's so much weight.
A lot of weight.
But Terence is, I think he's the best switch hitter since Hagler.
They claim Hagler was my favorite. They claim he's walking around like a $190 or something, and you do know he's a wrestler.
Yep.
So he's got that mentality to him.
Joe Rogan also pointed out that Terence Crawford had not been in a hurry to get to this fight and was seeking to fight this matchup for a long time. He elaborated that Crawford had, over time, positioned himself to fight Canelo and remained active, posting on social media that he wanted the fight way before fight confirmation was even made. Rogan stressed that such prolonged buildup demonstrated the patience, planning, and commitment on the part of Crawford to fight materialize.
Slowly, like he took his time. Like, it's been a long time training for this fight. He came on this podcast more than a year ago, and he was talking about that's the fight he wants.
Nice.
And that was a long time ago.
I remember.
So he's been trying to get that fight for a long time. So
Olympic medalist turned pro Omari Jones expressed clear confidence in Crawford's physical preparedness and mental drive, suggesting that these strengths would pave the way for a dominant win over the champion. He stated Crawford will brutally defeat Alvarez. With proper weight gain, hard training, and strong will, Bud Crawford has the edge. Paulie Malignaggi mentioned one of the prevailing beliefs in the sphere of boxing: the increase in size may imply a loss of speed. To support his argument, he referenced the rise of Terence Crawford in weight classes and used precedently in the form of Roy Jones Jr. and Manny Pacquiao, so he resorted to precedents who proved that it was possible to add weight and still be as sharp and effective as before.
When you get bigger, you do slow down a little bit, but that doesn't mean he's going to be ineffective at that weight. I think it's a bona fide good point to make. Sometimes it does wind up that way, but I'll give you Roy Jones Jr. You know, Roy Jones Jr. Put on weight, was muscular as he moved up the weight classes, and it didn't affect him. Good old Manny Pacquiao did the same thing, So there's times where it affects, and there's times where I guess if you put it on the right way.
He proceeded to say that weight gain before a fight is not just merely to gain weight, but to add muscle mass. It is in camp, he says, where a fighter must have to work with that new body and observe how it will impact his style, which proves the challenge. A fighter can trim down the added weight, but still keep it and use it to his advantage as long as it feels right and does not slow things down.
Right, because you're going to be sparring with this added weight. You're going to be doing the boxing training with this added weight. So you're going to know how to, maybe taper it down if you need to, or keep it going if you need to. I think over the course of camp, if you start to feel too yoked up and, you get big, and then, you're sacrificing reflexes, you're sacrificing athleticism, I think you're going to feel it. You have plenty of time to train for the fight, so you'll make the proper adjustments.
On May 3rd, Alvarez regained the super middleweight title as an undisputed champion when he beat William Skull, in a fight which was criticized as one of the least well-offensive fights in history. Fewer shots were thrown in 12 rounds than in any other 12-round match in 4 decades. Right after that, Crawford walked into the ring, and this meant that the confrontation was about to be real. Stephen A. Smith weighed in on the Canelo versus Crawford fight by spotlighting Crawford's speed, cerebral boxing, and stance-switching abilities. Despite acknowledging Canelo's power, he emphasized that clever movement and technical mastery could tilt the scales in Crawford's favor. He said, "I love Canelo. Crawford will beat Canelo by decision. I can't see anybody knocking out Canelo Alvarez. If you can box and you can move, you can beat Canelo." Recently, Gabe Rosado has talked about this fight and commented on it, citing it as one of the most exciting fights in memory. He further clarified that by the time the bell rings, both men would be in the ring in full preparation to win, and they would not abort anything in the ring. Meanwhile, Rosado said that fans would be astounded to see a new Canelo Alvarez. After all, Canelo himself knows what a great challenge he faces, and he is determined to give a performance not seen by him before.
I think it's going to be a great fight. I think Crawford, I think he's going to come to fight, but I think we're going to see a different Canelo. I mean, I think Canelo been coasting just because it's like, why take a risk? I don't have to take a risk. I'm Canelo Alvarez. I'm the face of boxing, but this one's way different.
The contest becoming a reality is not without interest for both fighters, making the styles the focus of the fight. Canelo Alvarez is the current undisputed super middleweight champion, a battle-hardened 4-division world champion known as a highly intelligent fighter with a disciplined defense and a formidable counterattack style as an orthodox fighter. His manner is characterized as an aggression with calculation, angle utilization, and a granite chin.
Venga, Saúl. Van 10 segundos, 10 más. Venga, sal. 5 segundos más, vamos.
The person Canelo stands against is Terence Crawford, another multi-divisional king, although a southpaw with an undefeated record. Crawford has a combination of smooth footwork, agility, and quick timing. He has captured every division he competed in. Fluidity and ring generalship are augmented by underrated power, as Rogan and colleagues indicate, referring to him as the best hitter. Mean Machine first talked about the fact that he was not even convinced that Crawford would rise to challenge Canelo back before the actual fight announcement. Admittedly, at first, he thought that size and strength were such a contrast that they would overwhelm Crawford. Although he was a partisan of both boxers, he immediately resigned when the initial thought was that Canelo might have a physical superiority that Crawford could not overcome.
Like, god damn it, like it's gonna be like too much for Crawford. Like, Canelo is too big, too strong. Like, Crawford and Canelo, they're like two more one the favorite boxer for me. I love Canelo. I love Crawford. Even like after I fought Crawford, I become his fan. Like he's an amazing boxer.
Mean Machine, as the days went by, told them that his point of view as to the fight had changed. On closer observation of the skill set of Crawford, he started thinking that he could win because Crawford is fast, intelligent, and can adjust well within the ring. He emphasized that even though Canelo is a great fighter, Crawford may win with his sharpness and ability to be tactical.
It was like rumors. I'm like, oh no, it's not good for Crawford. Canelo's too big. Right now, my position changed. I think Crawford is too fast and too smart for Canelo. Even Canelo is a good boxer. I'm not saying like nothing from not taking nothing from Canelo, but
Mean Machine used the story of Alexander Usyk in comparison to what is happening to Crawford to justify his change of mind. He stated that ability can overcome bulk, and in the case of Crawford, the extra weight has made no difference. Rather, Crawford in the ring and his boxing intelligence and abilities reversed the result he thought he would favor Crawford, but he feels it was an even match.
The way like when you see like, oh, he's too big, when you see Usyk fights and what Usyk did to the big guys like Joshua and Fury, so the size and that doesn't matter. I think the skill level matters, and Crawford, he gained weight, but I think he's gonna be like even faster, and like his head works good in the ring. He's like boxing IQ is just on top. So I would say 50-50, but right now I'm kind of leaning more to Crawford.
Sean Porter meditated on a recent trip to the training camp of Terence Crawford. He told me that he could also observe Crawford in sparring, and what he observed only pointed to his belief that the ex-undisputed champion was coming into top form at just the right time. Porter emphasized that Crawford was not only growing stronger, but also that he demonstrated his affection and enjoyment of the sport.
He sparred the day that I went over there and saw him, and when he got out of the ring and we stood there and talked a while, he confirmed everything that I thought I was seeing, you know, so he's verging that peaking process. He's getting stronger. Still loving it, which is you know, to me that's the biggest part of it. When you have a level of passion for something that passion is commanded of you.
Porter also talked about the environment outside the ring, stating how the camp of Crawford resembled that of a family. We all had to live under one roof, had to eat the same foods, and have the same routines. Crawford, he said, was completely at home in that environment and displayed a kind of balance between comfort and pressure toleration skills. To Porter, that was a further indication that Crawford was training properly to get ready to take on the biggest fight of his life.
You know, he's got all that. Went to his house afterwards, and you know, just to see his family, friends, you know, the whole team, everybody staying in the same house, eating the same food. He's comfortable. But for someone who's been uncomfortable for a long time, he knows how to balance it, you know what I mean?
Sean Porter stated that there is no change in the challenge since Crawford has been getting elite opposition throughout his career. Porter emphasized that Canelo is a different beast, but Crawford has been dealing with fighters with the same risks previously, and this can make him suitable for this assignment. Sean Porter said, "Not new for Terence Crawford. I want to remind people of that, getting in the ring with Canelo Alvarez. Terence is not going to see anything that he hasn't seen before. No, he hasn't seen this beast on fight night, but he's seen versions of this beast for a very long time." Canelo was especially reluctant to the fight. His brief dalliance with a fight with Jake Paul pointed to a phase of indecision or cowardly non-action perhaps. However, after he has recently realigned himself with Riyadh's Season 4 fight contract, the door is open once more to Crawford taking center stage. John Ryder, who has already boxed Canelo Alvarez, expressed his views on the upcoming fight and talked in high praise about Terence Crawford. The British fighter termed Crawford a special talent whose boxing intellect enables him to outsmart almost every opponent. Ryder said that he has always been attracted to fighters such as Crawford men who put it all in the ring and trust their minds as much as the physical instruments in their hands in order to command the best evenings.
Growing into that weight, you could have done with a couple more there, then moved up to 160, but it's all being done as a bit of a rush, so he's not going to be fully, he's not going to have time to put the muscle on to build into the weight, and he's obviously going to do it with the intention of getting back down to 154 and taking on other challenges, so it's not a long-term goal for him to stay there, but like I say, Terence Crawford is an exceptional talent. remember watching him beat a good friend of mine, Ricky Burns, and it's like since that day I was just, my ears pricked up and I took notice, and every time Terence Crawford boxed, I watched.
Concurrently, Ryder left no doubts that the transition up to super middleweight is not a trivial feat. He cautioned that going against a fighter like Canelo at 168 pounds is a completely different sort of challenge. To him, the path that will take him into the fight night, all the preparation, mental training, and exertion of strategy will be as important as what will eventually be on that night once the first bell rings.
I think it will be a points win. I think it'll be a points. I think Canelo will win it, but not by the biggest of margins. But then if Crawford come and turn the event on his head and won on points, I wouldn't be surprised.
Ryder even had a bit of practical advice for Crawford. What he underlined is, the key to defeating Alvarez is following the same fundamentals as our great players, instead of attempting to reinvent things in the bright lights. To him, discipline, classic ring intelligence, and keeping to the natural form could give Crawford the greatest opportunity to beat the Mexican champ.
I think you just got to watch the Bivol blueprint, the in and out. I mean, a lot of fighters getting stick now for being runners, Tom and Jerry and whatnot. But stick to what you're good at. Terence Crawford is an exceptional talent. He's won titles through the weights, undisputed at, what was it, 3 weights now. And listen, if anyone can do it, it's him. I think the weight will be too much of an issue. Canelo is a special talent. And I think the weight will play a factor in the fight.
For Canelo, it is an opportunity to prove his status as pound-for-pound best and set his legacy as a super middleweight great. To Crawford, a win would not only elevate him to the rank of the first man in 4-belt history to become an undisputed world champion in 3 weight classes, but also fly him into another even more exclusive club. Caron Davis, who has shared sparring sessions with both Canelo and Crawford, leaned toward Canelo overall. While recognizing Crawford's technical brilliance, he underscored Canelo's physical size as a potential deciding factor on fight night. He explained, "Everybody knows that Crawford has the skills, but I do think Canelo is a little bit too big for Crawford. If I had to put my money on somebody winning the fight, it would be Canelo Alvarez." The rhythm is established in the gym by each exchange between the fighter trainer. Trust, guidance, and that work-rest ratio is the piano bottom to fight night. This is something that Terence Crawford finds out all too well. When he enters the ring, it is not overtrained. He is entering to fight an already lost battle. On September 13th, his condition can only be an index of the discipline in camp, honed to purpose, and groomed to the necessity before it. Robert Garcia did not overlook the elephant in the situation. Canelo Alvarez is a powerful and merciless fighter, yet in the next breath, there is an opening that his words communicated a sense of defeat that strategy and composure can put a check upon power.
Man, look, big fight, huge fight. I know that Canelo's obviously bigger and stronger, and if he lands, you know, he could hurt Crawford, but I do believe that Crawford could pull it off.
To a man who has lived through major upsets, the insight of Garcia has different implications. He noted that despite all the mysticism surrounding Canelo, there are holes below the surface, minor tendencies over the last few fights that can be taken advantage of by a technician such as Crawford. It serves as a reminder that skill, timing, and ring IQ can swing the balance even against a puncher as dreaded as Canelo.
Crawford has great boxing skills. He's got a tremendous heart, and I know that if Crawford fights smart, he could outpoint Canelo. Canelo's been fighting lately. His last few fights, he's been fighting flat-footed, looking for one punch at a time, and I think that's if he does that against Crawford, I think Crawford could win a decision.
Whether it be the flames in his sparring or the harmony in his house, it is no surprise that Bud is training with purpose, passion, and precision. How much of that will work in his favor once he gets in the ring against the power and experience of Canelo Alvarez? Only Fight Night can answer that, and it is time to give you your say. Can the hunger and training catapult Crawford to the top of the world? Or will Canelo be too powerful? Leave your comments below, press that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to see more Fight Night coverage.